Here.
Commissioner Knight, Commissioner Scales,
Morning.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Stevens.
All right, here, thank you very much. Again, I'd like to remind everyone that the commission tonight is ultimate memory of county business. Appreciate his dedication. It is just as important as what we're doing right now. He's representing Jefferson County to the state county commission association. This morning we have the invocations that will be presented by commission number 2. Ms. Tyson, do you have anyone here, or do you want to lead us in prayer? Michael will lead us in prayer, and Phil, would you say the pledge?
Dear Heavenly Father, we come together this morning looking to do the business of the county. And we've already seen prior to this meeting started that the county is spending the money in a wise way, the way that will benefit its people, save lives, and make life for our citizens here in Jefferson County better. Lord, we know that you have a purpose for everything. We only need to wait and believe and do our best to help achieve your outcome. Lord, these and many more blessings we ask in our Son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We have public hearings on the agenda today. The first being case Z200030 Alex Zone. Order request to change on Dunn parcel located in section 24, township 18, range 2 west. We have 2 individuals who have signed the sheet to speak. Both are for. Is there, one is, I guess, the applicant. Michael, would you go ahead and present the case, please?
Yes, sir. This 6.23 acre property is located at the corner of Cahaba Beach Road and Sacred Hollow Road, at the southern end of the county. The property itself lies in an area that is unplanned by the county, meaning that there's not a land use designation on the property. But the policy in these areas that are on the outskirts of municipalities to adhere to monitor, to acknowledge, and to respect the plans and zoning of the adjacent municipalities. And in this instance, you can see above that it's covered by Vestavia to the north, which you see in the green, and then Birmingham to the south, which you see in the orange. Both of those separate municipal land use plans call for low-density residential development or rural enterprise or conservation. There are large tracts of property that are adjacent to this particular location that are owned by the Birmingham Waterworks Board, and all of that is in conservation near the Lake Purdy over in Shelby County. It actually straddles the county line. But that's the reason for the denial. The applicant is planning a small warehouse for internet sales. I believe there's a business that's trying to locate on the property. Again, should this be approved, they would have to go through and do some road widening along Sacred Hollow Road. And all that would be managed in the site planning process. Again, should the commission recommend, or should the commission approve, in contrast to what the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended, it would also need to be a limited scope use of low impact, just to more blend with all the policies of the 2 adjacent communities. But again, in the holding fast to that policy of our general land use plan, the Planning Commission recommended denial.
Good, thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Martin before we open the public hearing?
Correct. Michael, you, the other day, we brought up the house that has turned into a business that was across the road.
Correct.
And would you just kind of revisit that, how that happened, and what's going on with it now?
And this was back, this is the aerial photograph. You notice across the street, the subject property is outlined in orange or in gold. Across the street is an old house that was on the property. In 2014, the property owner approached the county about possibly rezoning the property for a small electrical firm. In order to, they would use the house and the grounds just as part of that small sort of office business. The county at the time pursued it as a use variance request as opposed to changing the actual zoning. So the zoning of the property is still agricultural, but they allowed for this one particular electrical contractor to use the property as just an adaptive reuse of the house. That case was approved in 2014. It wasn't until 2017 or 2018 when Birmingham updated their comprehensive master plan in the area and designated all that property adjacent and up and along Sickert Hollow Road for either conservation, rural enterprise, which is essentially what would be allowed in our agricultural district, or low-density residential. And again, Vestavia's land use plan covers the area to the north of Sickert Hollow Road going over the ridge.
Any other questions? Audience would like to speak in favor of this or in opposition to, would you please stand? Approach the microphone, state your name and your address, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Frank Galloway. I represent the owner, Alex Jones, and I would like to speak in favor of the proposed rezoning. Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of documents. May I present them to someone to circulate to the members of the commission? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The request is that the subject property be rezoned from its current A1 zoning for the 6.23 acre tract. The contemplated use, and I think Mr. Morrison has done a fair job of articulating our proffer about that we're willing to, the owner is willing to make the appropriate road accommodations and also subject the project to the site plan procedures. But the goal is to construct a 5,000 square foot building on the property for Yellowhammer, which is a woodworking company presently based in Vestavia on the Cahaba Road. And Mr. Zach Smith is here, and what I'd like to do shortly is turn the floor over to him and let him tell the commission about what Yellowhammer does in its day-to-day procedures, and he can speak specifically to the scale of internet sales versus any walk-in traffic, and also speak to the UPS and Amazon traffic that comes in and out, because it is frankly very low. They do a good job of consolidating it into small numbers of trips. So he will be here in just a minute, but what I'd like to point out is that the proposed zoning change would facilitate a use, a very specific use that would have a business with 3 employees. And it does not, nothing is manufactured here. This is a warehouse. And the other uses that could go on, the permitted uses on this property, residential, would be far more intense if one steps back and thinks about it in terms of volume of daily occupants, the traffic, not to mention the construction traffic that would occur, and then the potential impact on the environment with the Cahaba being down the road in terms of roofs and gutters and driveways, etc. That here there is the opportunity to preserve 6 6.2 acres in a confined, regulated manner that we submit is appropriate and is good zoning. The standard that we think that should govern here is presented on this page that I had asked to be circulated to the commission. There's a star by the paragraph that says conformance with municipality. Development in unincorporated islands within municipalities should unincorporated islands, within municipalities should harmonize with the surrounding zoning and land uses of the city or town in questions, as should development of land in the county on the outskirts of municipal boundaries. Well, here, it is an unusual situation that I submit will not have any negative precedent for the county if it approves this rezoning in the manner that Mr. Morrison suggested that it could be done. I'm not saying he's advocating it, but with the appropriate restrictions, because the land on the subject side of Sacred Hollow Road is burdened with restrictive covenants and conservation easements that prohibit sprawl or any other type of development that could be negative in terms of being countervailing to the land use desires to protect the environment. So here you have a unique situation where it's a one-off for this one property to have a far less intense use than what is presently permitted to have. When one looks at the pictures that were presented in this package, the first two pictures are of the electrical subcontractor operation across the street. One sees that it is a rather modest operation that is not particularly visually appealing. The third page is a photograph of a residential contractor's property to the north on the far side of, opposite side of Sacred Hollow, that again is a work yard for a residential contractor. Nothing aesthetically commendable to speak of. And then the third one is even closer to the pump house on the other side of the road. And this is a yard, and you see disabled trolleys from DART in the yard. And so you have, which is again, visually not really appealing. So what you have is you have non-residential, commercial uses across the street. We're offering to do one use governed by a site plan on this property that is not inconsistent with the land uses across the street. I think it's important that it's not just a question of what is the zoning, but what are the land uses? The land uses across the street, because this is a pretty barren stretch right here. What's there is commercial with a couple of residential homes on between the Doodles property, the second and third commercial use. And this is not inconsistent with the totality of the picture when one looks at it with the restrictive covenants and the conservation easements. What I'd like to do is step aside for a moment, let Mr. Zach Smith from Yellowhammer present what his company does so that commissioners will have the benefit of knowing what the dynamics, the prospective use are. Then I'd like to come back, make a little more presentation, then turn it over to Mr. Jones, who's the applicant, to conclude, to talk about the restrictions in the area, if we may do so.
Now, what I see is Zach Martin, not Zach Smith.
I'm sorry, Zach Martin, you're right, Zach Martin. I'm sorry. I think Zach Smith used to be my paper supplier years ago, and I got that on my mind, so I apologize. Zach, come on up.
What we see it to be is an e-commerce business. We serve woodworkers all over the world, selling through Amazon, through our website. 99% of our sales are e-commerce. We'll have a walk-in local woodworking kind of weekend warrior type come in, maybe 3 or 4 walk-ins a week. As far as our day-to-day operations, it's me. I ship and pack. I've got a full-time packer that ships and packs, and I have another administrative assistant who also ships and packs. And what this facility would mainly be used for is warehousing space to ship and pack our smaller items that would go out, mainly post office and UPS. And we consolidate those shipments. And every morning we arrange a pickup with the UPS truck, and they'll usually show up in the afternoon, 3 or 4 p.m. And we'll help them fill their truck up, and they're in and out. And the same goes for the post office. And really past that, there's no material traffic on a day-to-day basis. And, this just really fits our needs of what we are as a business. That's kind of the 30,000-foot view of what Yellowhammer is.
Mr. President?
Yes,
Can I ask a question?
please.
So you're not planning on any eventual, people coming to this facility to purchase in person, or?
Well, we would have a showroom, which is what we currently have. And, as I was saying, we get probably 3 or 4 walk-ins a week. And, it's kind of word of mouth. If there's a woodworker in town, they know where we are, they kind of give me a call. You call Yellowhammer, you talk to me, and, say, yeah, we've got this client, come grab it. That's kind of what our showroom is. It's kind of a mocked up woodworking shop, and, we got some things for sale, but that's not really what our business is.
And so it's just internet sales only. I thought maybe you were doing some woodworking or.
No woodworking on location.
And how many shipments do you get normally in a day, and are you looking at eventual expansion, what that might look like?
Yeah, so inbound shipments, we probably get 3 a month, and those come on pallets. We have a distribution center in East Boga, Alabama, that receives our containers and that sort of stuff. And they kind of, take those shipments, consolidate them down, and they'll send us a couple of pallets, like I said, about 3 a month. Smaller stuff that makes sense to ship out, USPS, that sort of stuff. Come in on pallets, we'll, kind of unload them and stage them that way. And that's as far as inbound goes. Outbound, it's UPS a day. One UPS truck comes and picks up a big bulk, maybe 50 to 100 packages, and then same with post office. That's it.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, next, please.
All right, one more point, then I'm going to ask Mr. Jones. Actually, Alex, why don't you come up, and Mr. Jones had a hand in. Part of our presentation seeks to make sure that it is fairly presented about the restrictions on the surrounding properties to confirm that this is an area that's going to start development. And Mr. Jones has personal knowledge about the conservation easements and restrictive covenants. I'd like him to speak to that, and then I'll wrap up.
Hey, Alex Jones. I sent everybody email hand delivered a smaller version of this map with an email summary of what I'm going to say today. And I listened to Michael, and I'm not sure where Michael is coming from about widening Sacred Hollow Road. Based on what I understand, Yellowhammer is doing with 1 or 2 trucks, 2 or 3 people. This property that's 6 acres right here, as it stands, I can put, I think, 8 houses on it if I wanted to, which I don't, not. Or I could put a bunch of mobile homes on it, or trailers. Don't want to do that, I'm not going to do that. Either one of those right there would be far more dense, far more destructive than what we're talking about here. I'm talking about going to the very back corner, the right-hand bottom corner of this property, somewhere in there, out of sight from the road, and building a 5,000 square foot horse barn and paint it green and selling internet tools out of it. That's what I'm doing. Now, the property in pink here, everything in pink, I have either purchased and put conservation easements on it, or have negotiated with the waterworks through litigation 25 years ago to put covenants on their property, which they've done. So there's about 1,000 acres in here that I have personally been involved in, that there can be no development ever. And somewhere in those regulations, I thought I saw where if you bring in that benefit to the surrounding area in the county, there ought to be some benefit received from that. And all I'm asking that this be approved in light, or instead of something far worse that could be in there. I don't think what we're asking to be rezoned for is going to be anything that's going to be inconsistent with the area. It's like I say, it's going to be a big horse barn, but there's going to be internet sales in it, and there is on a stretch of road from Cahaba Beach Road, going up Cahaba Beach Road, both sides, going down Secret Hollow Road, all the way to the river down there. There can never be anything. As it stands, there could have been hundreds of houses in there. And for personal, selfish reasons, I didn't want that because I live next to that property. The property that the waterworks got, I sold to them and put covenants on it, so they couldn't do anything with it. The property, there's 78 acres that was for sale and zoned for apartments on Secret Hollow Road. As you cross the river on the right, that was on for apartments. And myself and I got 9 of my friends to go in and buy it with the waterworks. The waterworks was a partner of ours, and we bought it, and we took the apartments off of it by putting a conservation easement on it. So I'm suggesting and asking for all of the reasons and all of the being proactive in trying to keep this area from blowing up out there. If this be approved, this is whatever the Birmingham land use plan is as far as being low density. That low density would be much higher than what we're proposing right here. I'm open for any question anybody wants to ask, but I think I can defend what I'm trying to do. If anybody got
Any commissioners have any questions?
Can I go back to Michael?
Yes, sir.
You said you didn't understand what he had mentioned about the roadway. Is there anything that he can clarify for you now?
That was a requirement of roads and transportation, because they're not going to allow access off of Sacred Hollow unless you have to make improvements to Cahaba Beach Road in order to get that access there. And again, that would be requiring widening and possibly acquiring right-of-way and all sort of infrastructural work along the side.
So that's not only Secret Hollow, but would that be Cahaba Beach?
No, it would be
Road?
Cahaba Beach.
Okay.
I don't know that there wasn't any mention of any improvements to Secret Hollow. That road's already been improved by the county. And again, just because they've tried to repeatedly, consistently, try to limit direct access to Secret Hollow, that's why the required access would come from Cahaba Beach.
So, I'll make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying the access would need to come off of Cahaba Beach?
Correct.
Yeah, we can do that. So that would come right up to Cahaba Beach and Secret Hollow.
But again, that access, Cahaba Beach Road would have to be improved to the southernmost portion of that property, and that's just for county policy. That's what gets to, that's the consistent policy that's going to apply.
Cahaba Beach Road is closed. I vacated part of Cahaba Beach Road, and that's not vacated out to Secret Hollow Road, but there are only 1, 2, 3, 4. There are only 4 houses on Cahaba Beach Road. The bridge is closed, so you can't use it. It's a dead end. It would be absolutely a waste of resources to do anything to Cahaba Beach Road other than just turn off of it and go into this property.
But Michael, what you're saying is that if this was approved, roads and transportation would require.
That would be required upon submission of site plan.
Mr. Ammons, I think we recognize and we said this at the planning commission, that if approved, we acknowledge that roads and transportation has final say over how access is done and can set requirements. One thing, Michael, we had talked about this, there's a ditch that runs on our side of Cahaba Beach Road. So obviously there's work that has to be done to access the property by putting in the appropriate culvert to get over the ditch.
I just want to make sure Mr. Jones understood that. I mean, he said he didn't understand. I want to make sure.
Well, I think
it's clear.
in defense of Mr. Jones, I understood the statement to be that changes would have to be made to Sigurd Hollow Road. I think that may have been a misstatement as opposed to Cahaba Beach, because I think there are different propositions economically to deal with tweaking Cahaba Beach Road versus tweaking Sigurd Hollow Road. So, all right, if I may close up here, there is, Michael, can I ask you to distribute this will be my last little offering. This is an excerpt from the current land use plan for the county. And this last paragraph speaks to areas where proposed land uses are not specified, and that's where we are. And the underlying language says this: the policies are meant to be somewhat flexible in light of changing conditions and not fixed. What we would submit in conclusion is that the implementation of the restrictive covenants and conservation easements are matters that constitute changing conditions. They're unique to this property. They don't set precedent for other areas of the county, which call upon the decision makers, you four, to be, quote, somewhat flexible in light of these changing conditions. We submit that it is an appropriate consideration for y'all to rezone this property within the framework that Mr. Morrison has presented, due to these changing conditions, and that to make such a zoning change is fully consistent with the land use plan and this language that I just presented. So with that, I will conclude the presentation with answering any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Commissioner, you've heard the public hearing. At this time, the public hearing is now. Anyone speaking against this? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
so since we closed the, I'm ready to go ahead and make a motion on the item presented.
Okay. Chair, let me turn that motion.
I'd like, Mr. President, in light of the information that was presented by our personnel here, that in light of the fact that it goes against both the city of Vestavia as well as Birmingham's land use plan, that we move for denial of this item.
We have a motion for denial. Do we have a second? Hearing none, the motion dies for lack of a second. Do we have another motion?
And Mr. President, I would ask that this item be delayed until we can have further discussion with Commissioner Knight being present.
We have a motion to
Mr.
delay
President,
the vote until the next.
can I go back and I'll second that motion?
Which one?
The one for denial.
The one for, we
So
have a
then-
motion on the.
So what I'll do, Mr. President, is that I'll remove my amended motion. So I'll rescind that at this time, and we can take up the original motion.
Okay, so we have a motion for denial by Commissioner Scales and a second by Commissioner Ammons. Ms. Barfield, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Ammons,
Yes.
Commissioner Scales,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson, Commissioner Stevens.
Yes. Mr. Jones, it has been denied. You can get with, Mr. Morrison for the next, course of action, and, there is a procedure in which you can move forward from this. And, I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Next on the agenda is a, Z200034 Drummond Company. This is a continuation of a project that has been going on, and I believe they're asking for a little continuation of time, Mr. Martin.
Yes, that is correct. Bear with me just a second, we'll get to the screen. Okay, this better tells the tale right here. The portion that is outlined in black is the subject property, which contains approximately 24 acres. The large rectangular piece that goes all the way up to Sardis Road, that you see right there, was what was rezoned back in 2013. The mining operations has ceased on the majority of this property already, and they are ready to revert. Again, it was approved in late 2013 with covenants, which of course we asked that we keep the same covenants intact and just amend the one covenant that relates to the expiration of the zoning. The rest of this property is going to revert back to A1 zoning at the end of the year, automatically as a result of that covenant that was bestowed in 2013. This one piece is just a little bit of the mining operation that they need an extension on, and thus the covenant that is recommended to replace that original covenant in this case would set the date for the end of June of 2022, allowing 18 months to cease operations. Upon completion of all the mining, they do have to reclaim. You can see from the aerial photograph that some of that reclamation work has already begun on some of this property. You'll notice it's very small, but you'll see where they started to plant the trees and all that on the northern end. Forgive the pixelation, where you see that, where you see the edge of that mining operation. Also going back to the zoning map, you'll note that the majority of this area, where you see that blue, the blue stripe, all that's already zoned for mining. And again, when this case first came through in 2013, it was controversial just because it was pushing the mining operation closer to the residences. But that's why it was approved with that sunset for the end of this year. And again, staff or planning commission recommended approval with the same covenants, but just amending that date.
Okay, thank you. And then, for those of you, well, I guess I'm the only one here that was here in 2013. It was a very long and very contentious meeting that we had at that time. And I'm thankful to see that there's no one that has signed a petition or moved forward to see what we have. This seems to be straightforward. At this time, I would like to open a public hearing on case Z200034. Maybe if you will make it brief, it looks like it's going to be an easy one.
Well, that's good news, and I hope that's the case. Thank you, Mr. President and Commission members. My name is Charlie Beavers, 4301 Dollar Ridge Road, Birmingham. It is my pleasure to be here on behalf of the applicant. This is, again, a very simple matter of extending the time to complete the mining operation for a small portion of the property, about 24 acres out of originally in excess of 200. And if you notice to the west, in the green, to the left of the blue, that's where all the residences substantially were, where we had all the questions before. And all that got worked out with buffers and whatnot. In fact, my folks, they didn't mine anywhere close to what they could have mined, even under the restrictions that were placed on them. They have a little bit of land they need to finish mining. Sometimes you run into regulatory issues that just take longer than you thought, and that's kind of what happened here. So just taking them a little longer to finish the mining. They employ about 60 people on site for this mine. Very good, high quality coal. They have all kinds of restrictions that will continue on how they can bring the coal out, the route that they have to take to stay away from residences and all that stays in place. We just need a little bit more time to
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of or in opposition to the zoning issue? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Move second, all in favor say aye. Aye, thank you very much. Next is case Z200035, make it your own rentals. Sam White requests a change in zoning on a particular parcel in, section 31, range 14 west, from A1 agricultural institution to a consolidation of this zoning. This looks pretty easy too, Mike.
That's correct. Again, just a small portion of this property has institutional zoning. It was once part of church property that they've since conveyed and has become part of this property, and this is just to consolidate zoning for a residential subdivision.
Okay. I'd like to open public hearing this time, case Z200035. Is there anyone in the audience speaking in favor of the opposition to this?
Property owner Sam White just reserved the right.
Sam, you're good. Sometimes it's best to just stick a thumbs up, you're good to go there. Is there anyone else? This time, public hearing is closed.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Item's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Thank you very much, Sam. That was easy, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right. You're in Benson, that's in Mr. Knight's district?
Yes, sir.
We'll tell Mr. Knight we took care of it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, we have the approval of the minutes from the commission meeting of November the 19th. Is there any additions, corrections, or revisions?
I'll move to dispense with the reading of the minutes for the
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Commissioner, 66 resolutions we have before you that will probably be vetted on Tuesday's pre-commission meeting. Is there any for separate consideration? Need a motion.
I'll move items 1 through 66.
1 through 66. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
You made a motion.
Here we go.
Okay.
I heard second. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I said second and you didn't say it.
And now we have 10 items of new business, and, for unanimous consent consideration, we would first, would like that a motion for unanimous consent.
Mr. President,
Yes.
then you have an item, Commissioner Tyson, at least that's what I can gather, that you want to have recall for a vote, that you'd like to participate in the vote.
My uncle got voted. She didn't hear me.
I'm talking about on the zoning item.
I didn't say
Okay, do you have that recorded?
Good, thank you.
I move for unanimous consent for the consideration of 10 new items.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Steelberg, call the roll.
Commissioner Amos?
Yes.
Commissioner Scales?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson? Commissioner Stevens?
Yes. Commissioners, all of these are related, I believe, Mr. Dell.
Yes, sir.
All of these are related to the CARES Act.
Yes, that's correct.
Move items 1 through 10.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
I'm sorry. Item number 9 and 10 is EMA.
That, yeah, I was gonna ask, I'll pull those out to ask. So,
Okay.
item 9 and 10 are EMA related. Do you know, what is a soft target? Do you know what that is?
It's $27,160. It's EMA. I'm not 100% sure what it is because it's an EMA item.
It's all we're doing is proving that.
Yes.
You're by EMA. Okay, we have 10 items. Are there any others that Commissioner has a question about?
Move the items, Mr. President.
Items are moved and seconded. Ms. Steelberg, call roll, please.
Commissioner Amos?
Yes.
Commissioner Scales?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson? Commissioner Stevens?
Yes. That is our 10 items of new business. Mr. Johnson, did you have anything else?
No, sir, not today.
Okay. We have other items, and I don't want to put anything that wouldn't be normal and proper. But as these new items come through that have been approved through the CARES and go through Will O'Brien,
Yes.
Would it be prudent if the commission, if we can go ahead and vote on those and get those out to the people before the end of the?
Yes, on item number 7 on the agenda, new business.
Yes.
That's what that does.
Okay, item number 7, authorize the sub-grant agreements amendment with pending applications.
That's right.
So that means that when they come through and they've been cleared, we can sign and get it out to the people.
That's correct.
That's great. Thank you. We appreciate everything that you've done. And Mr. Lawson, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Anyone else? Commissioners, this is.
All I have to say, Mr. President, is congratulations to the county manager and his staff, in addition to the hard work of the commission. And I think you all should start reading your emails because the county workers are beginning to appreciate their pending deposits. So just wanted to make sure you knew that.
That'd be great.
This is the last meeting before Christmas.
No, we have one more. All right, for any of you who are interested, I have the BDA legislative priorities, a copy of that, that make sure that we're congruent with what they have.
Those are still in draft, those are still in draft form.
Still in draft form. I can let you see that, and you might copy and bring it back. As those are finalized, perhaps you get some input from Mr. Ammons, yes, sir, and we'll make sure that is what we have. Be no further business.
Oh, I got one more.
Yes, sir.
Just to remind everybody of our 1:30 call today for the JCUC on the COVID update. Make sure it's important that all of us are on that call.
Okay. 1:30 today for a COVID update with Dr. Wilson. There'll be no other business to come before this body. Meeting is now recessed, and Mr. Lawson, pull them through today.
Go Spartans.
Go pull them through. And we ran through the agenda